All right, so after a couple days away, I've got some quiet time before I start back to some e-teaching tomorrow to talk about what Waubonsie Valley boys, cross country, and distance runners and track do on their training basis. So today we'll hop in and talk about what we typically do at the start of the week. So Monday, this isn't that different between cross country season, track season, winter between those two seasons, and then the track summer camp and the cross country summer camp that we do. So our Monday is typically our longer segment of work. It's going to be running at below lactic acid threshold pace, or running at a point that you can maintain that pace, that distance for a prolonged period in time. So we're working on our aerobic capacity. All right, I've said in earlier videos, I'm more of a art of coaching rather than the science of coaching. If you're more mathematics and science based and you want to know specific times and paces that kids should be running, get Jack Daniels' running formula. He talks you through the whole thing to doing it. That's really the best way to do it. Dr. Vigil has a number of resources available for it as well. I'm more simplistic. So what our typical Mondays looks like is we're going to run for longer than the race distance, slower than the race pace, but the volume is going to be what we're going to focus on. We want people to be able to run for a prolonged period of time at right above what they're capable of hanging on to. So the goal is to complete the workout and not run so fast early on that you can't finish the total volume of what we're trying to do. A lot of what we build our stuff around in terms of throughout the whole year of testing our fitness is we do a 4-mile timed effort that's supposed to be an aerobic effort. Under pains of, if I think you're kicking it in, if you collapse on the ground, you're gasping, you're breathing hard to ever, blah, 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 I'll bring you back tomorrow and do the 4-mile timed again tomorrow because I know you went past your lactic acid threshold and you fell apart, and that was not threshold running, that was racing. Some of my better teams, we've taken the top couple guys that 4 miles gets to be too easy, and they're beyond running aerobically at that pace. We'll take them up to 5 miles, we'll take them up into 6 miles, but for most years it's a 4-mile timed effort. Other things that we'll do on the Monday is we'll do repeat 2 miles, repeat mile and a halves, repeat miles, intervals for those distances. So we're running significantly slower than race pace, and usually I'll have them run about what they would be running for their 4-mile time pace. You know, maybe we're doing 3 to 4 times 2 miles, 6 times mile and a half, 6 to 10 times a mile repeat. And they're running somewhere, you know, a lot of times in the off season, if we're running around 6-minute pace for that, that's great. If we can dip that down and get into 5 something, that's fine. Most of my athletes, if we're running around 5 flat, that's not aerobic threshold anymore. That's actual anaerobic work, and that's not something that's productive for them. The other thing that we do with a lot of our day-to-day stuff is we do work beyond the main meat of the workout. So on a Monday, the kids will run to wherever we're doing the workout, and then we'll do strides. We'll do 2 building strides, we'll do 2 strides at 40%, and then go to 80%, and then we'll do 2 all-out strides. At the end of the workout, we'll come in. My older kids will do a warrior core, which is more of a static plank with lifting your legs or dipping your hips, and more of a hold position with some movement rather than a dynamic bouncing around core that we'll do on different days. Then both my older guys and younger guys will stretch. My older guys during the school year will lift in their PE class, and then my younger guys will do lifting on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My juniors and seniors will typically do a more basic workout in terms of what they're doing for lifts. My freshmen, sophomores will do a more basic one. My juniors and seniors will do something that's fairly involved on a Monday, Thursday lift, and then separately a Tuesday, Friday lift, because that's what their PE class does with 4 day a week lifting. So our goal on Mondays is build that aerobic base. We want to, again, build that VO2 max. We want the kids to learn how to run right at the edge of not being able to maintain that pace. So I had this conversation with a coaching friend of mine a couple days ago. One of the things I truly believe in is kids have to find their limits, because if they don't go somewhere too aggressively, crash and burn, and know that that's too far, then they're going to sit in too much of a comfort zone and not really test what they're capable of. And I would rather have that crashing and burning and bad experience from running come at a practice where I've got a lot more safety precautions put in place and I'm more likely to pull a kid than in a meet. When a kid crashes and burns at a meet, that to me is usually a failure of myself in coaching on not getting that kid prepared to know when they were in trouble, when they were in danger, and putting themselves too far out there. In workouts, that's typically where that's going to come. In all my years of coaching, I've had one kid that never got to the point where they learned a hard lesson about going out too hard and finding out what their limits are. That would be senior year of cross country, David Graber. I threw stuff at him that I thought for sure, like, okay, this is going to be the one that breaks him, and he's going to, now we'll know where his breaking point is. And meet after meet and workout after workout, Graber was able to handle it, and I went, I'm going to have to change my expectations because David did something I didn't think he was capable of doing. So that's typically what our Monday will look like. And the volume is obviously going to change depending on the age of the kid and the volume that kids have come up to. We'll talk about this in more detail, but I've got some kids that all we're trying to do is run to where the workout is on Monday, because they didn't do any summer running, and they might have even started after the season began, and they weren't that fit to begin with. And I've got other kids that have run for me, in some cases started in elementary school with me in the summer, and have run and worked themselves up. And I had a kid this year that we worked, and I kept letting him add on volume, and we were out, and I think at one point we might have done, I think we got to 8 times mile and a half, and he probably could have done more, and I pulled it because I thought we were starting to get into too high a mileage too soon. And that's where you as a coach have to know, I don't need this kid to do something spectacular to feed my own ego. I need to give this kid the volume that they need and the volume that's going to be beneficial to them, not the one that's just going to stoke my ego or going to stoke this kid's ego either. All right, so next time we'll come back, we'll come in and we'll talk about the long run, which is what we typically do on a Tuesday.